How we doing, everybody? UFC Thoughts here, and today I'm going to be going over my picks and breakdown for every fight on UFC Vegas 106, Burns vs. Morales on May 17th, 2025. Timestamps in the comments below. Let's get right into it with the first fight of 12. We start with Tecia Pennington versus Luana Pinheiro. I'm going to go with Tecia on this one. It's going to be a little tricky. It's always going to be a competitive fight when you have Luana Pinheiro against another striker in there. Tecia Pennington doesn't really have the grappling edge that I'd like for her against Luana, but I still think she gets it done. Luana Pinheiro, just especially as of recent, has looked pretty bad in her recent bouts. Just not a lot of great moments out there. You know, the Jillian Robertson performance on the feet, she looked decent, but on the ground, she looked very incompetent. Angela Hill kind of just broke her in their fight, and I'm not a huge fan of that. If you're getting broken by Angela Hill, I think a girl like Tecia Pennington, who's able to walk people down pretty easily, is going to have a lot of success against you. Tecia Pennington, very gritty, in your face, kind of walk them down, hands up high by her cheekbones, kind of walking you down, side to side head movement, throwing big old meaty hooks in there. I think Tecia Pennington just gets more of a reaction out of people than a Luana Pinheiro does. Tecia, since her return from the Mackenzie Dern fight, had a very competitive fight with Tabitha Ricci, as everyone does. But then the Carla Esparza fight was also competitive, but that's because of the grappling. Luana Pinheiro isn't much of a grappler herself. She's much more of a standard striker at range, kind of keep her distance, hands kind of low, bring a jab or uppercut from her hips, kind of tag you up the middle. I think Tecia Pennington just, in this stylistic matchup, is going to be able to do more work, be a bit faster, and she has more of that experience in the cage as well. And she's been looking a bit better than Luana Pinheiro, in my opinion. Luana Pinheiro I think she's kind of a flash in the pan kind of lady. 3 losses in a row. I'm not a huge fan of that, especially in the WMMA level. To be fair, Amanda Hebos, Angela Hill, and Jillian Robertson are not easy tests, but I think Tecia Pennington has a bit more momentum, and her style will work well against Luana, who seemingly hates being on the back foot. She loves being in a flow state, kind of walking, kind of at distance, not behind the black line, kind of being able to get her combinations off and not being forced to be on the back foot and then jabbing off her back foot where she doesn't have a lot of power and being forced to miss a lot. I think Tecia Pennington has better combinations. I'll go Tecia Pennington, probably by decision, 29-28. I'll go split. Fuck it. We move to HyunSung Park versus Carlos Hernandez. I'll go with HyunSung Park over Carlos. I think it'll be a little bit of a weird stylistic matchup. HyunSung Park is kind of a weird prospect. Broke out on the scene. He beat, Sunguk Choi or whatever on the road to UFC finale, was it? And then he beat Shannon Ross. I know that for sure. Yes, Sunguk Choi, who was 6-1 when he fought him. He's 9-3 now. He's actually gone 3-1 since that fight against pretty shitty opponents, but HyunSung Park was a weird. Usually when people fight Shannon Ross, they usually get him out of there relatively quickly. And HyunSung Park does have some worrying factors. I just think Carlos Hernandez, as underrated as he actually is, Carlos Hernandez is actually a tier above, mid flyweights. I don't think he brings a whole lot to the table besides that. He has very good scrambling ability, as most flyweights do, but he kind of pops out on the screen if you watch fights with him and Race Sabruya, for example, or the Dennis Bondar fight, for example. There was a lot of cool grappling exchanges there. Same with the striking as well. Carlos Hernandez is not mid. Like I said, he's a tier above those guys. But HyunSung Park, besides the layoff, which, he hasn't fought in a while, to be fair. It was December of 2023. I just think he has a bit more finishing potential in this matchup. And also, Carlos Hernandez, I don't want to shit on Tatsuro Taira. Y'all know how much I like. I'm very happy, thank you. But to get like knocked out by Tatsuro Taira, I'm not a huge fan of that. That was Tatsuro's first ever like TKO, excluding the Alex Perez one, of course, which was due to injury. That was like his first TKO, like on the feet ever. A lot of his shit prior to that was ground and pound stoppages. Carlos Hernandez, he's got weird defensive techniques. He's going to have a speed advantage over HyunSung Park, which could turn this into a bit more of a scrap fest than it should be, most likely. And HyunSung Park does have some questionable, like, reactions at points. Like in round 2 against Shannon Ross, I remember he actually was getting tagged up a couple times. And I'm not a huge fan of that. But I think HyunSung Park also can implement the grappling, which is, when Carlos Hernandez fights somebody who can do both, he kind of struggles. You know, he's getting knocked out by Tatsuro Taira. He's getting grapple fucked by Ray Saruya. I think HyunSung Park, he's a bigger guy as well. Not going to be as tall as Carlos Hernandez, but he's going to be way more full than Carlos is. I think HyunSung Park has the power advantage. Doesn't necessarily have the technique advantage, but he's more down to get gritty. And he throws a bit more. So I think HyunSung Park is just going to do a bit more. Maybe land a couple body shots. Carlos Hernandez is kind of flabby. As of recent, at least. I think HyunSung Park might be able to find a TKO. Maybe it's like a barrage of punches where it's against the fence and Carlos kind of just like covers up a little bit too much and the ref has to stop it. But I think HyunSung Park, you know, he's going to exchange a left hooks, kind of clobber him with that, uppercut, left hook to the body, kind of just follow through with a combination after he possibly hurts Carlos Hernandez, and then kind of like just makes him sit down near the fence and find a finish. We move to Elise Reed versus Denise Gomes. I'm going to go with Denise Gomes on this one by first or second round TKO. I just think she's better than Elise Reed. Elise Reed, you know, she's coming off the win over Jessica Penne. From what I remember, that was like a pretty, like, was that somewhat competitive? Or am I misremembering that fight? I think Elise Reed just kind of, no, she kind of beat her up a little bit. Significant strikes were kind of close in round 1, but besides that, she kind of just, she got a speed advantage over Jessica Penne, and Penne's very long and rangy and kind of lethargic with her movements. Denise Gomes is just younger. Excuse me, I have allergies. Hits harder and is just better. Denise Gomes' track record as of recent, you know, she beats Karolina Kowalkiewicz. Not everybody does that, all right? Would Elise Reed beat Karolina Kowalkiewicz? Fuck no. No, she wouldn't. Denise Gomes, she beat Eduarda Moira, who's a humongous girl, undefeated as well, and bounced back with a win over Veronica Hardy. You know what I mean? Like, she's beating Yasmin Jauregui, 2 undefeated fighters, knocked her out in 20 seconds. Bruna Brazil, off of her crazy ass. Was that after the Contender Series where she knocked out, what's the chick's name that has the really long nickname? She fought was it Luke? No, it was Josephine Knudsen. You guys know who I'm talking about. High on Amanda dos Santos to get into the UFC. Denise Gomes is just more of a dog in there, and Elise Reed really needs to enter a flow state and get her sidekicks going to the body. I feel like Denise Gomes is going to be able to counter her very easily. Elise Reed, a lot of her weapons have to be down the middle to the body, straights, jabs, straight hands. I think Denise Gomes, she's going to counter the fuck out of Elise Reed on one of these and drop her bad. Elise Reed, whenever she goes up against someone even like remotely decent, you know what I mean? She seemingly just ceases to fight. Lupita Godinez, absolute domination. Loma Lookboonmee, absolute domination. Sam Hughes. Sajara Eubanks. I know that was back in 2021, but I hate that. Gets the split win over Corey McKenna. That should have been a split. She should have won unanimously. Melissa Martinez, not that bad. But Jinyu Frey and Jessica Penne, they're just old heads. Those are old head fighters, dude. And, you know, she's taking them to decisions. You know what I mean? She's gotten finished in all 4 of her losses. Denise Gomes has a great finish. She's got great finishing potential, even in the UFC. Yeah, I just think that, for one, she hits hard. She'll be able to counter Elise Reed. She's a very pattern-based kind of striker. I think Denise Gomes won't allow Elise Reed to enter that flow state. Elise Reed will be throwing more, but Denise Gomes is going to get more of a reaction, which is going to speak more to the judges. So I'll go Denise Gomes by first or second round TKO. We move to Luana Santos versus Tainara Lisboa. I'm going to go with Luana. Tainara is a weird... She's kind of like HyunSung Park in a way, where she hasn't fought in so long that I think a lot of people have forgotten about her. She's 2-0 in the UFC. She beat Jessica Rose Clark back in fucking North Carolina, Charlottesville, wherever that Almeida Rosenstrike card was. And then she beat Ravina Oliveira in one of my earlier picks and breakdown videos I did. Tainara's good. She is good. She's got a great straight right hand, and she's got pretty solid strength in the clinch positions and grappling. She's got really slick jiu-jitsu as well. I think Luana Santos just has been way more active. And also, even though she's coming off a loss to Casey O'Neill, she has fought better comp in the UFC. Ravina Oliveira, to my knowledge, I think took that fight with Tainara very short notice. I think maybe not super short notice, but I think she did take that fight short notice, and she hasn't fought since then. Not Tecia Pennington, PC. What are we doing? Ravina Oliveira. Yeah, because she was supposed to be fighting Daria Zelezniakova. Yeah, she hasn't fought since then. Tainara, great straight right hand. She's got a good check left hook. She's a very good walk 'em down kind. She likes to be in front of you, but you be by the black line, kind of like near the cage, and she waits for you to throw, and she counters very well. But Luana Santos, I think, just has a good style when coming in. She ducks her head a little bit. She'll post and throw. And Tainara, she's a orthodox fighter. So if, let's say, Luana Santos is posting with her left hand, kind of framing, entering in, throwing the right hook, Tainara immediately throws. She rarely waits to throw. She'll throw it immediately when you enter in. That can leave an opening. And Tainara doesn't have the greatest gas tank of all time. She did gas out against Ravina Oliveira, actually lost that third round, in my opinion. And that's when Ravina got scrappy. Luana Santos knows how to get scrappy. She's younger. She has more fights in the UFC. She's been more active. She's got better competition fought in the UFC, in my opinion. Juliana Miller, while she isn't good, it's not that she's not good. She's just like kind of mid. Stephanie Egger and who was the other girl? Maria Agapova. You know, she's making it look easy against these girls. It's going to be competitive early because Tainara does start really good. Her first round is really solid, and then she kind of dwindles. Luana Santos also isn't a type of fighter to get held down all that much. And Tainara, I don't know if her stand-up can last 3 rounds. I go Luana Santos, 29-28 decision. I think she drops the first round, kind of gets more scrappy in round 2 and 3. Tainara starts to slow down. So does Luana, but she's got a bit more of dog in her, and she's able to bite down on the mouth guard, walk forward, and land some big old meaty hooks. And she wins a decision. So Luana Santos, round 2 and 3, 29-28, unanimous decision. We move to Yadier Del Valle versus Connor Matthews. I'm going to go with Yadier Del Valle on this one. I think he's kind of a marauder, I'll be honest with you. Yadier Del Valle, to be fair to him, has actually a lot of really solid wins for a guy who's only 8-0. His Contender Series opponent was a grizzled fucking vet, Montero, who was 17-4-1. He beat a 4-1 opponent before that. He beat Michael Aswell in the regional scene. If you don't know, that's the guy that almost beat Bogdan Grad on the Contender Series. He was 7-0 then. He beat two 3-0 opponents in Alonzo Sanchez and Eric Mercado. He kind of sucks now. He's 7-6, but he steps up against competition. And he just has this style about him where he walks forward with reckless abandon, and he's got a granite chin. And Connor Matthews, as of recent, if he gets into a firefight with somebody, he's a guy who tries his best to be super technical because that's how he believes the fight game should be. It's whoever has the best technique is going to win. That's not how it always is. Sometimes you just got to dog it out and walk somebody down, take some shots, and fucking beat them up. Connor Mathews, he's got a wrestling possibility, even though Yadier Davai showed great wrestling chops against Montero and a good submission game as well, threatening guillotines, and Connor Mathews does kind of go for single legs in moments. I don't know. Yadier Davai might get hit quite a bit in this fight, but if he catches Connor Mathews, I think Connor goes down. Yadier Davai, he only has 2 knockouts on his record, but he also has 2 subs and 4 wins by decision. And with his style, I like the fact that he's able to win a decision, because he's a really all or nothing kind of guy. But so far, all we've seen is the all part of that. Vicious ground and pound as well. He's got great. He enters in and just kind of forces you backwards and then presses you against the fence and just hauls off with knees and elbows and uppercuts, shovel uppercuts, grabbing the back, I'll grab him by the scruff of his neck, yeah, shovel uppercut, elbow. He's like a UFC 4 guy, just spamming elbows and knees. And Connor Mathews, he's going to be on the outside, kind of throwing the lead outside low kick. Thing is, Yadier Davai is also a southpaw, which could develop problems for Connor Mathews. I'm just not a huge fan of Connor Mathews' career trajectory following the Jose Delgado fight, where he got brutally finished, and the fight before that he got TKO'd by Dennis Bajuka. He just hasn't had the greatest track record in against UFC competition, against actual UFC competition besides Yair Faris on the Contender Series. He's 0-3. He lost to Francis Marshall on the Contender Series, and he also lost. My bad. I accidentally clicked. I spoiled the next fight. He's just not great against UFC comp. And Yadier Davai, he's fought solid competition on the regional scene, beat a grizzled vet on the Contender Series. Connor Mathews kind of just, he's all right, but he doesn't have a lot of flash to his style, and I think Yadier Davai just grits down harder and is able to swing harder and hit harder. So I think Yadier Davai will find a TKO in late round 1 or midway through round 2. Kind of Connor Mathews just kind of getting forced against the fence. Maybe Yadier Davai's chaining takedowns, elbowing the shit out of Connor Mathews on the ground, but I think Yadier Davai I think he beats Connor Mathews. We move to the featured prelim. Jared Gordon versus Thiago Moisés. God, they're both so, like just above mid, the both of them. I'll go with Jared Gordon. But man, this is a very tricky fight to even, think about what's going to happen. I think Jared Gordon just is going to be able to push a pace a bit more than Thiago. Thiago's going to be quicker. He's going to have the athletic advantage because everyone does against Jared Gordon. It's just the fact that Jared Gordon is a gritty motherfucker who actually, gets dirty in fights. These guys are, prime examples of dudes who only lose to, really solid guys, but they just can't really beat, top-level dudes. But the track records recently, I like Jared Gordon's a little bit more. Thiago Moisés, if Trey Ogden doesn't tear his bicep, he beats Thiago Moisés. Trey Ogden wins that fight if he doesn't injure himself. A little bit Klein made easy work of Thiago Moisés. Mitch Ramirez is shit. And Thiago took him to the 3rd round. All right, I know Protest took him, to the 2nd or whatever. It's also down a weight class, to be fair. Benoit made easy work of Thiago. Melquizael Costa moving up a weight class. But, you see the names. Christos Giagos, that's not a good, Alexander Hernandez is decent. Bobby Green, that's a good win. But when you look back on that, that was, a complete and utter robbery. And he hasn't had, a really good win in a while. Same with Jared Gordon, to be fair. But Jared Gordon is having competitive fights, arguable robbery losses to Nasrat Haqparast, to Paddy Pimblett. Was beating Bobby Green until he got fucking headbutted out of oblivion. I think in this fight, Thiago Moisés is going to work his usual casual striking combinations, a jab, low kick, kind of just feeding range, jabbing away, and then rushing to kind of crashing in with a right hand, kind of level changing here and there, feigning a level change, kind of digging an underhook here and there, kind of pressing Jared Gordon back, but he's also going to get met by a Jared Gordon who's going to push him back. I think Thiago Moisés fights like a fucking weirdo on his back foot and fights horribly. If you pressure him enough, he will crumble and break. And, like, Jared Gordon's good. Like, it's so weird that Jared Gordon, I have to, like, be like, this guy's good. Like, when you look at what Paddy Pimblett has done since that fight, to be fair, I'm pretty sure Paddy Pimblett said he got injured going into that fight, or was injured during the fight. Jared Gordon, like, looked good against Paddy. He looked good against Nasser Haqparast. Arguably should have won both of those fights. Okay? And Nasser Haqparast is really fucking good. Not really fucking good, but he's really solid. I think overall, Jared Gordon, he's a dirtier fighter, more gritty, able to pressure you back, put you in the clinch scenarios, kind of pummel underhooks, kind of uppercuts to the body, hooks to the body, knees to the body, kind of shovel uppercuts to the head, kind of grind his way to a unanimous decision win. And Thiago Moisés, I will say this about him, I'm not a huge fan of his mindset in fights sometimes, where he kind of just tries to cruise a little bit. If a combination isn't working, he'll just kind of sit at range and try and counter-strike with a jab. Jared Gordon's going to be all in his face. I'm going to be in your face all night, he would. All night, he would. I think Jared Gordon's going to pressure Thiago Moisés beautifully, kind of try and trigger a reaction out of him, shoot a single leg, kind of just press him against the fence. That's something he did against Nasser Haqparast. Didn't even really trying to get him down, just kind of got the thought in his head, pressured him against the fence, and then kind of kneed the shit out of his body. I'll go Jared Gordon by unanimous decision. I'll go 29-28. I think one of the rounds is going to be kind of like a swing round, kind of Thiago. Maybe he does a bit more work, maybe round one. As the fight goes on, Jared Gordon, just his pace adds up. He's a very, like, poison effect kind of fighter where his striking just kind of adds up and you kind of just slowly, your arms start to slowly go down, your striking becomes slower and your reaction time kind of decreases, and Jared Gordon's just kind of still there, slower as well, but just kind of still there. So I'll go Jared Gordon. We move to the actual featured prelim. Sorry I lied to you guys. Gordon versus Moisés is not the featured prelim. This is Gabe Green versus Matheus Camilo. I'm going to go with Matheus on this one. I'm going to go with Camilo. Matheus Camilo, by the way, I couldn't find what his reach is. I imagine it's something like 70. All right, that's what I'm going to guesstimate, actually. Let's see if the UFC has it on their website. Nope, they don't. Apparently, he's 0 feet tall and has 0 inches of reach and 0 inches of leg reach. This guy apparently doesn't exist. But Matheus Camilo, if you guys remember, this dude fought that guy that was at the 308 press conference, who was like, "Dana, give me opportunity, give me a shot." And then they fought each other on Korean Zombies fight promotion, ZFN, and Matheus won 29-28 decision. This kid's pretty good. He's a really well-rounded guy. This fight can be very competitive, though. Gabe Green hasn't fought in a while. He's actually been injured, I think, a lot. He hasn't had a fight booked in a while, I think. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but he had a fight against James Yantop booked a while ago, back in April of 2024. You know, he hasn't fought since May of 2023. It'll actually be just a little bit over 2 years since he fought Brian Battle on the Rosenstrike versus Almeida card as well. Gabe Green, traditional marauder, walks you down, just kind of shuffling a little bit, throws the straight punches, throws a bunch of low kicks, kind of pressures you against the fence, tries to make you uncomfortable. If you move laterally, you'll do just fine, but still, just the pace that Gabe Green's able to put on people is kind of clinical. Matheus Camilo, however, I think is actually very good at moving laterally, and he damages legs very quick. Very good calf kicks on Matheus Camilo, and he does hit pretty hard. And Gabe Green does get hit a lot. He absorbs 7 strikes per minute. Not total strikes, significant strikes per minute. He does also land 6, but he's a very take one to give one kind of guy. And Matheus Camilo, I don't know how that's going to work. Gabe Green's a weird guy because on his come up, he was a lightweight, which is where this fight was. And then when he entered the UFC, he just, for some reason, I think he took a fight short notice and then just stayed at welterweight for his career. He works very well against people that allow his style to work. If you don't allow his style to work, You kind of just move laterally, kind of damage the legs, kind of pepper them from range. Don't allow Gabe Green to get a hold of you. People usually win, but a guy like Phil Rowe, who's too lanky, who's too kind of slow to deal with the size, Johan Lainez, kind of similar thing where he's just too slow. Matheus Camilo, very quick guy. He's going to be pretty outsized in this fight, I will be honest with you. Gabe Green's a very thick 155er, but I think Matheus Camilo just has a bit of momentum. Looked very good against that big, muscly wrestler dude from, I think it was Tajikistan, was where Noshrabab was. Noshrabab is not his fucking name, but what was the guy's name that he fought? Dorab Shak. Nabatov is where I got the N from. But he's also beaten like 13-5, 6-1, 4-0, 9-3. You know what I mean? He hasn't lost since 2022 against Eric Mercado, you know, who was 4-1 when they fought. That's the 7-6 fella. Not very good. But Matheus, you know, he looks good. I think he's going to look good against Gabe Green. Gabe Green, too hittable, too predictable as well. If he throws a leg kick, he throws 4. Matheus is going to pick up on that and counter him very easily. And Gabe Green's chin worries me a little bit. But I'll go Matheus Camilo by TKO in the first or second round. We move to the start of the main card. Julian Erosa versus Melquizael Costa. Wow, these guys are fighting quick and often. Melquizael especially. I'm going to go with Melquizael Costa on this one. I think he wins. 2 fights already this year against Andre Fili and Christian Rodriguez. I think Melquizael Costa's finding his swing, his timing on things. This is basically a mirror matchup when you really look at it. Both have really good jiu-jitsu chops, and they're both kind of long, rangy strikers. I think that Melquizael Costa just has a better chin than Julian Erosa. And I also believe Julian Erosa just has a worse time against people near his size than people who are a bit shorter than him. For example, Julian Erosa has been knocked out by Fernando Padilla, another tall featherweight, Alex Caceres, another tall featherweight, Sung Woo Choi, another tall featherweight. Devonta Smith, was Devonta Smith tall? I think he was, right? He's 5'9", so not as tall, but, you know. But a lot of his losses in the UFC are by KO, right? I think 6 of his 7 losses are by knockout. In the UFC, that is. He has 7 overall. Melquizael Costa is a very, blunt striker, throws very brutal body kicks, will bring him upstairs from time to time, kind of exchanges willingly. I just think he has a better chin than Julian Erosa, and it's going to be one of those ones where Julian Erosa looks good for the first 3 minutes, or maybe minute and a half, and then Melquizael Costa just lands something, and Julian's legs give out, and then he gets clocked again, and then just dies. Julian fights with his hands down very low, and to be fair, he just had essentially a non-fight against Darren Elkins. That was, Darren literally did nothing in that fight. The Christian Rodriguez fight, Julian Erosa has more finishing potential, in my opinion, than a Melquizael Costa, but I think Melquizael Costa is better over the distance, and he's also got great finishing ability of his own. 8 wins by sub, 7 wins by KO, TKO, you know what I mean? He has the finishing ability there, and he's beaten some really solid guys as of recent. Shia Leonard and Becky, that was more of a grappling style matchup, and he was able to win by submission. Andre Fili, he basically did what Julian Erosa did against Christian Rodriguez, just forced a guillotine in there. Christian Rodriguez, Melquizael Costa didn't have the performance Julian Erosa did, but he clearly won 2 rounds, and Julian Erosa was getting tagged in moments. Austin Lingo, great performance by Melquizael Costa, just completely outstruck him. And that's the thing, I think Melquizael Costa is better over the distance, and I think he just is able to do a bit more visible damage than Julian Erosa is. I don't think Julian Erosa has the punching power of a Steve Garcia. You know what I mean? I don't think he's going to be able to steamroll Melky in the grappling either. I think this is going to be a stand-up friendly matchup with Melquizael Costa being the one implementing the takedown threat. If it does get there, I think Melquizael Costa chins Julian Erosa in the first round, maybe with a left hook or a head kick. Just something that, Julian Erosa mid-combination or in the reset motion he has, where he kind of just like brings his hands back to like his neck, he just gets chinned with something. I think Melquizael Costa will be first to punch. We move to Dustin Stoltzfus versus Nursulton Ruziboev. I'm going to go with Nursulton Ruziboev by first round KO. I don't rate Dustin Stoltzfus almost at all. Nursulton's going to be a lot bigger than him. And Dustin Stoltzfus' style is very in your face. I'm going to walk you down. He's going to eat an uppercut. That's just either an uppercut or a right hook, and he's going to die. Dustin Stoltzfus, his chin worries me a lot, especially against like opponents that he just like kind of runs into things with like little to no idea what he's doing. Like Nursulton Ruziboev hits hard as fuck. Bruno Ferreira literally died with the first flush shot Nursulton landed. Eric Mikonico, like that first round was a little weird, and then Nursulton in the second round immediately lands something hard, drops him again, gets a TKO. Cedric Dumas, again, kind of similar thing where Nursulton has somebody in front of him frozen because they're like, this guy's too big, he's too long, I can't really do nothing. Pause, by the way. And then they eat something when they least expect it, because Nursulton, for as long and rangy as he is, blitzes in and is very fast. Dustin Stoltzfus isn't as athletic as I'd like him to be in this matchup. He's coming off a great win over Marc-Andre Barrio, to be fair to him. That was a really good performance. Got a takedown early, or Marc-Andre slipped a little bit, and then they started exchanging in the pocket, and he brutally knocked him out. Punahele Soriano, like, he has two really solid wins in his last 3 fights, but then he's getting knocked out in 19 seconds by Abos Magomedov, and then chinned by Bruno Ferreira, again in a matchup where he's kind of exchanging with somebody that he shouldn't be, and gets chinned for it. Nursulton hasn't been finished a lot in his career. A lot of his losses do come by way of decision. I think he's been KO'd once and subbed once. He has 7 decision losses. He's a very first round. He has 25 first round finishes. Holy fuck. That's crazy. His one loss is to Joaquin Buckley, man. Like, Joaquin Buckley's really fucking good. And he went to a decision with him. I want to bring that up because Colby didn't go to a decision with him. Vicente Luque didn't go to a decision with him. And neither did Wonderboy. But Nursulton Ruziboev was, because of how dynamic and strange he is to deal with on the feet. If a guy like Joaquin Buckley, who is a better wrestler than Dustin Stoltzfus is, and better striker, is struggling to deal with the stand-up, and he's kind of like a similar size, more athletic Dustin Stoltzfus, like, Dustin's going to die with an uppercut. Either Dustin Stoltzfus is able to ground Nursulton, which I highly doubt. What's Dustin Stoltzfus' takedown accuracy in a fight like this? You know, he's got a 41% takedown accuracy, to be fair. He's just too unathletic, in my opinion. He's too slow. I think Nursulton clips him with an uppercut or a right hook when he blitzes in. I'll go Nursulton Ruziboev by first round KO. We move to the featured fight. Sodiq Yusuff versus Mairon Santos. At lightweight, I'm going to pick Mairon Santos to win by KO. Sodiq Yusuff hasn't fought in over a year. Got chinned by Diego Lopez at UFC 300. Shit happens, alright? Not even like, shit does happen. I think Mairon Santos is just... He's technical and defensively sound, and Sodiq Yusuff, he's a really technical striker. He really is. If he goes up against somebody even with an ounce of power, his style really gets diminished, because Sodiq Yusuff, like a lot of other fighters on this card, is an in-your-face. I'm in your face right now. I'm walking you down. You're against the cage, and I'm gonna hunt you down. Jab your fucking face off, set up my right hand, exchange hooks, and you're gonna die. That's what Sodiq Yusuff does. He's a very in-your-face, I'm gonna break you down, wear you down, land my big shots, you're not gonna be able to take them, and I'm gonna walk out with a paycheck. That is what his style is. We saw, he even did that against Diego Lopez for the first little bit. He didn't throw as much, he was just very in his face, and then the first exchange, Diego lands an uppercut. But Sodiq Yusuff landed a really good jab and a really nice right hand. I think the difference in this fight is Mairon Santos is very defensively sound, moves laterally very well. and has power of his own and sets up his own strikes very well. The Francis Marshall performance, a lot of people blow that out of proportion. I really thought Mairon Santos just won. I said that in my recap video. I think a lot of people overrated what Francis did in rounds 2 and 3. I think that Mairon clearly won those rounds. Round 1, you give to Francis because of the knockdown. Prior to that, though, Mairon was having a traditional, just masterclass striking performance. He was doing just more than Francis. Mairon, weirdly built body, long legs, long arms. Look at the arms on this fucking guy. He's got crazy long forearm and bicep bones. He's just very weirdly built. He blocks his body, but he blocks his head at the same time. He's got one of those fucking long arm builds. He hits hard as well, and he's able to go 3 rounds decently easily. Sodiq Yusuff seemingly always fades if a fight goes past the first round, which he hasn't had to do besides the Edson Barboza fight since 2022 against Alex Caceres. And then before that, it was Arnold Allen. You know what I mean? And he got beat up by Arnold Allen. Now, to be fair, he's only losing to really good guys. But I have to take in the fact that he's taken so much time off. He has taken so much time off. And you look at the guys that he's beating in the UFC. Shimon Moraes. He was, 11-2 when they fought? Gabriel Benitez is average. Andre Fili is average. He's a bit above average. Alex Caceres in 2022, a bit above average. Don Shainis is shit. That's his last win. He is garbage. I know that was short notice or whatever for Don Shainis, but he is trash, okay? Like, he is garbage. Mairon Santos, defensively sound, has a good jab, good right hook as well. Just sets his strike, counter strikes beautifully, moves his head off the center line so fluently, and then counter strikes very well. Sodiq Yusuff, maybe his chin is better at lightweight. I really hope it is, because I think Sodiq Yusuff is, like, super underrated. If his chin is able to withstand, he might win. I just don't know if it does. Mairon Santos, even including the fucking Francis Marshall performance, is a killer. He's a sniper at range. He's very fucking good. Very defensively sound, like I mentioned so many times before. And he just sets up his strikes a little bit better, in my opinion, than Sodiq Yusuff. Sodiq Yusuff will sometimes feint a jab like 7 times. He'll just kind of throw it out there and then throw a jab and then throw a 1-2. He's very, like, in your face, but he shows you what he's going to throw. Like, he shows you what he's about to do. He's very technical when it comes to that, but I think Mairon Santos overall has a puncher's edge and just momentum as well, included as well. Layoff for Sodiq Yusuff. I think Mairon Santos is really fucking good. And I think he knocks out Sodiq Yusuff, sadly. But, yeah. We move to the co-main event. Rodolfo Bellato versus Paul Craig. I'll go Rodolfo Gelato on this one. Shout out to Bedtime for coming up with the funniest nickname for this fucking oaf. Rodolfo Bellato is just gonna TKO Paul Craig. Paul Craig's very average, a bit above average now, but, like, he's moving back up to light heavyweight, which I never really liked him. It's like, but dude, Rodolfo is just weird, man. What was Paul Craig's last stint at light heavyweight? Where was the last fight? The Johnny Walker fight, and then prior to that was Volkan Oezdemir. Like, he's fighting such good guys at light heavyweight. But now you see him taking a toll, losing to the Bo Nichols of the world. You know what I mean? Like, his striking is just so below average. It's so painfully trash. He's going to pull guard him. He might sub Rodolfo, to be fair. He could do it. But I think Rodolfo's too much of a marauder. And he's got too much heart. And he's got too much chin on him. And he trains with Alex. You know what I mean? Like, his striking is going to improve gradually over time. And he's a big fucking cunt, this guy. He's a big dude. And he's got good cardio. And that's something Paul Craig has always kind of lacked, is his cardio. Paul Craig's fighting for his career, he said on this night. I never really like when a fighter says that, if I'm being honest with you. When a guy is like, I'm fighting for my career this Saturday. They usually always lose, I'm going to be honest with you. 3-fight losing streak for Paul Craig. Rodolfo Bellato, after a brutal first round against Jimmy Crute, came back and won rounds 2 and 3. I thought round 2 was very fucking close. And then you look at his debut against Ihor Potieria, basically the same thing, almost finished in the first round. Comes back in the second, they're tired, he's still in their face, and it's a smaller octagon. Rodolfo's huge, Paul Craig's huge. Rodolfo's going to walk him down, get past those long arms of Paul Craig, kick his leg, because that's something people forget you can do against Paul Craig, is kick his fucking calf. It's right there. He's so wide with his stance, and he has his lead arm so far out. He's like, fucking come at me, I dare you, I'll pull guard on you, bitch. Rodolfo's going to chin him. He should, at least. Paul Craig is just... He's so average now. He's like, regressed so much on his abilities. So I'll go Rodolfo Bellato by first round finish. Maybe a knockdown into a TKO kind of ground and pound scenario, but I'll go Rodolfo Gelato. We move to the main event. Gilbert Burns versus Michael Morales. I'm going to go with Michael Morales on this one. I think he wins by TKO. Gilbert, he just looked so... And to be fair, his last two losses are Jack Della Maddalena and, Sean Brady, which are two very good fighters. I'm just looking at this age-wise, it isn't playing in Gilbert Burns' favor. He has the experience over Michael, of course. He has fucking... 18 more fights than him in the UFC? That's actually pretty fucking crazy, not gonna lie. But Michael, one X factor about him is his takedown defense. He has a 92% takedown defense. He's a big, strong, fucking youthful kid. And he's big for the weight class. Like, not like tall, like, Prates and Ian Gary or Shavkat. They're all pretty tall individuals. Michael is just, like, kind of wider than all of them and more full with muscle. And he hits hard. He hits pretty hard, and he's going to have a significant reach advantage in this one. 5 rounds will play to Gilbert Burns, just because he, of course, has the experience. But Michael Morales, one thing I like that he has over a lot of prospects is the fact that he's gone 3 good rounds with these like, kind of gritty veterans, Jake Matthews and Max Griffin. He's taking these guys to a decision. You know what I mean? Like, he's taking them to a decision. He's winning like 30-27, and he's just outpointing them at every area. But it shows that he knows how to manage his gas tank. He only goes for a finish when he feels he has a finish. Besides that, he's very point style, jabbing at your face, low kick, deep to the body, kind of using his long intangibles, jabbing your face off, throwing the 1-2, like I said, low kick right after that, kind of feigning a level change into like an uppercut. He's very, like, calm in there as well. And, you can look at the Neil Magny performance and bring up the fact that he did get held against the cage for quite some time in that fight. Gilbert Burns is going to struggle to get into that range with Michael. He's going to have to throw a big old meaty overhand, try and find his way in. Gilbert, I think he's going to eat something on the way in. He's going to eat some shit. And he looked... The Sean Brady performance, fuck the grappling. I don't even give a shit about that. It was the stand-up that really made me queasy in that fight. Gilbert looked so lethargic and old in that fight. He looked like Sean Brady was teeing him up on the feet. If Michael Morales is landing as much as Sean Brady did, he's gonna finish Gilbert Burns. That's just how it works. You can attribute that to Sean Brady's takedown threat that he has in every fight that he has. Michael Morales, he's a big fucking kid. If he starts walking down Gilbert, it's not going to be pretty. Like, it's not going to fucking go good for Gilbert. And Michael, like I said, he knows how to go 3 rounds very easily. Like, he knows how to do this. And it's not like he doesn't shoot any takedowns. He shoots takedowns of his own sometimes. He probably won't against Gilbert Burns, but he can level change. Give that idea to Gilbert Burns. That way he can land those, like I said, up the middle strikes that he likes to throw from time to time outside of his traditional jabs, and then heavy right hook on the guard. I think Michael Morales will win rounds in this fight, even if it goes to a decision. I think he banks rounds 1 through 3 very easily. Maybe rounds 4 and 5 are tough for him. I think he finds a finish anyways in the first 3 rounds. Gilbert Burns is going to have to fight a very uncomfortable fight for him, where he's going to have to rush in. I've never been a huge fan of Gilbert Burns' chin, ever. All right, I'll be honest with you. Michael Morales is going to chin him coming in. He just is. And Gilbert in the JDM fight slowed down. Even Sean Brady fight, he slowed down. He's too old. He's taken too much damage over his career for me to, like, confidently be like, oh yeah, Gilbert definitely, not definitely, but I can see him beating Michael Morales. There is a path to victory for him. That's if Michael Morales is very scared of the takedown threat of Gilbert Burns and is able to get taken down and held down. I just don't see that happening. I think Michael Morales is a very strong individual. Gilbert's very strong as well, to be fair. But I just think that Gilbert Burns' takedown offense from, like, the open mat, if it's like a reversal like Sean Brady, where Sean Brady kind of got shucked off and then Gilbert grabbed a leg and then dumped him, then maybe he takes down Michael Morales. But in the open mat area of this fight, it's going to be very hard for Gilbert Burns to take down Michael Morales. And even then, Michael Morales' takedown defense against Cage is incredible. It's incredible. You know what I mean? He's a big kid. He's bigger. He's strong. Not stronger, but he's more powerful. Maybe not more powerful either, but he's got power, and that's really all you need against Gilbert Burns. That's really all you need nowadays, is the power. Or insane grappling ability like Sean Brady, but Michael Morales has every aspect that you need to beat Gilbert Burns. He just needs to use them come Saturday night. I said Michael Morales is a better prospect than Carlos Prates. He's going to prove that come Saturday night when he finishes Gilbert Burns in the first 3 rounds, or even wins a decision, because he can do that if he banks the first 3 rounds. Gilbert Burns, too many injuries, too much time off. Not too much time off. He fought in September, to be fair to him, but too much damage in his career for me to be like, that's a fight that he wins. You know what I mean? Like, Michael Morales is super good. He's super underrated as well. He beats Gilbert Burns, in my opinion, decently easily. I'm UFC Thoughts. These have been my picks and breakdown for every fight on UFC Vegas 106. Burns vs. Morales on May 17th, 2025. My confident picks reside with Denise, Gomes, Nursulton, Ruziboev, and in the main event, Michael Morales. My pre-card rating is a 5 out of 10. Besides the main event, I don't really give a shit about any of these fights. There are some fun fights on the undercard, but this event was very scraped together to have enough fights to, like, run ads. You can very much tell when you have guys like Melquizael, Costa, Julian, Erosa fighting literally like a month or 2 after their most recent fights, and Mairon Santos versus Sodiq Yusuff fighting not even at their own weight class at featherweight. You know what I mean? Like, these are all very, like, and Burns Morales has been moved so many times as well. It's a great main event. It's one of my it's not one of my favorite, but I like Michael Morales as a prospect, so I really love this matchup for him. It'll really prove to people that he is actually as good as people say he is. Like, people who know Michael Morales, they know how good he is, and people are going to find out on Saturday night. I hope the fights are good. They usually are when it's a sleeper card like this. I will see you guys after the fights. Peace.